The gentleman we have here today has studied under B.J. Palmer, graduated in 1949, long before I was born. Don't calculate that one out. Then he studied under John Grostic until he died. He carried on what he had learned, gave it another title. And he is here with us this evening, and he still is 70 years old. He's still in full-time practice, and plus teaching the subject of his talk today to you, which is Chiropractic Atlas Orthogonality. And I think we should welcome and listen intently to our very dear friend who's also a PSPS team teacher who does a lot of teaching and a lot of educating in the chiropractic world at numerous other colleges, and we want him here too, and that's Dr. Roy Sweat. Roy, come on up, please, sir.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you. All right, thank you, I got it. Thank you very much, Dr. Parker, and I want to say it's a great honor and pleasure for me to be here and to be with the students in chiropractic colleges, and I want to say that you are at the right place and at the right college and the right time in life. Chiropractic has lived through 100 years of straight up, but still 100 years of some hard times, and I think about one more generation we'll be where we are supposed to be in the health world. They say there are three things you need to be a good doctor. One is to be broke, so you got to work. The second one is to have gray hair so you look distinguished. And the third one is to have hemorrhoids so you look concerned. Well, let's see if we can get that focused. They say work is only work when you wish you were somewhere else. So who wants to be in the office adjusting people? The doctor that is successful at it, the doctor that can produce some great results, and there is a lot of fun in playing golf and fishing and a lot of other things, but at the same time, they don't have the pleasures and the benefits of being in and adjusting these people. Here's a case that we had on the Bell's palsy, could not use the facial muscles. The patient also had what they call dystonia, where he was having chronic spasms and could not stand erect. And here he is, after we adjusted his atlas, brought him back up, and there he was, there it's returned. And who wants to be doing this type work? The chiropractors and the doctors that can adjust the atlas and give them chiropractic care. The medics have an answer for this type program, and now it's called Botox. And Botox is the botulism bacteria that produces the toxins, and they are injecting this Botox into these type cases of dystonia or chronic spasmodic torticollis, and it's a very, very dangerous procedure. Botox destroys the acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter at the nerve endings. Botulism, you eventually get paralyzed and weak and die, and yet they are doing this type work with the injections of botulism. So had you rather go to a chiropractor and try to get well conservatively, or do you want to get into these horrible drug programs? And that's why you are at chiropractors doing the conservative programs. And now they're saying that one out of 3 people, here is Life magazine, that they are saying that acupuncture herbs are better than the antibiotics and surgery. I have a nutritionist, medical doctor in New York City, comes down to us in Atlanta to get his atlas adjusted. And about 5 years ago, they had him at the medical board in New York City, state medical board, trying to take his license for treating patients with nutrition. They said he was unorthodox, and they didn't take his license, but nevertheless had him up before the state board. And now here, a few years later, front page of Life magazine, are saying that these herbs, acupuncture is better than the surgery and the antibiotics. Today's chiropractic is saying now that 1 out of 3 people are going to alternative medicine. So they're saying now that 1 out of 3, when we graduated in 1950, chiropractors were quacks, they were charlatans, and it was a little disturbing. I just graduated, come home to Atlanta, and Dr. Morris Fishbein was president of the American Medical Association, and he had his quackery program on the front page of the Atlanta paper. Says chiropractors are quacks and charlatans, and that's one reason we just won this fight against the AMA, is quoting Fishbein. He was trying to genocide chiropractic. But it's a little discouraging when your mom and daddy just paid your way through college and you come home and here they are saying you're a quack. But fortunately, we adjusted both of them and they responded and did good. But nevertheless, these things we live through, hopefully the next generation does not have to live through that. So I would like to stop 1 minute and pay my respects to Dr. Jim Parker. I don't think anybody in the world ever tried to tell the world about chiropractic more than Dr. Jim Parker, and he is a great man, and we owe him a million thanks, and all of our thoughts and prayers are with him. And the college here is a beautiful college. We toured. Sonia Whipple took me on the tour this morning, and the college is beautiful. It's a great asset to chiropractic, and it really is, as Emerson says, these institutions are the length and shadows of one individual, and it shows you what any one individual can accomplish in life. So it is a beautiful facility, and we owe him a lot of thanks. I want to thank Dr. Carl Parker, too, Carl, for inviting me out. For inviting me out and letting me bring our program, or showing you our Atlas orthogonal program to the college. I would like to reiterate a little bit of my history. We graduated. My sister had migraine headaches, and then the early 40s, phenobarbital and sulfa drugs were the greatest drugs in the world. And phenobarbital, she was turning bronze. Her red blood cell count was down low, and I've seen her in bed with spasms with a headache. She went to a chiropractor down in South Georgia, Waycross, Georgia. He adjusted her atlas, and her migraine headaches cleared up. So she took me with her, and I met the doctor, and he began to explain chiropractic to me. I was in World War II in the Navy, and I was discharged in about June of 45. So I fooled around the house for about 6 months. So finally my dad come up and he says, you either got to get a job or go to college. So I said, I think I'd rather go to college somewhere. So we went up to Palmer College in 46. We completed a 4-year course at that time. In 46, came down, opened our practice in Atlanta, Georgia in 1950. We then practiced for about 1.5 years, and I got interested in Dr. John F. Grostick's program. BJ had us x-ray people before we adjusted them, but John Grostick had studied under BJ, and then Grostick come up with a program where we x-ray them before, but x-ray them immediately after to compare one with the other. And so we then got interested in his program in the 50s, and we were fortunate in that we were excelling in his program. And in the late 50s, he asked me to help him teach his seminars. These were all hand adjusting programs, and we worked with him until 64, and he died. And then in 64, we moved the programs down to Atlanta and have presented the upper cervical program since then. We do have an orthogonal. You have to say orthog. It's orthogonal, orthogonality, and or orthogonous, but nevertheless, orthogonal does mean at right angles or perpendicular. So we say what's above the atlas should be at a right angle. And then the atlas should be level. The atlas should be level. And then the cervical spine should be vertical or at a 90 degrees. So we're saying, in effect, that the head can laterally flex to the right or left about 5 to 7 degrees. So we're going to see how the head is it vertical, right or left, and then whichever way it has displaced from vertical, we're going to try to come in and bring it back to a vertical position. So the human body is a bipedal support, and as a bipedal support, we are a vertical structure. So we should look at the horizon level. So when the heads are off center and tilted, the eyes can adapt for about 5 to 7 degrees in the sockets, the ocular orbits, but once it gets more than about 5, I can still see the horizon level. Once it gets more than about 5, it begins to distort, and now nature or innate begins to come in to shift the thoracic, so the lumbars to keep us looking level. So the crookedest person in the world is tilted. He has a center of gravity, but he's looking at the horizon level. So when these structures displace and leave an orthogonal position, it's like here's the head, and here's the atlas, and here's the cervical spine. So if the head is displaced, the atlas is tilted, and the cervical spine is displaced, we're going to x-ray you and see which way these have subluxated, displaced, and then we're going to try to come in with an adjusting program that would bring the atlas back down level and the head back vertical and the cervical spine under a vertical or an orthogonal atlas. So again, orthogonal means perpendicular. So what's orthogonal to the atlas? The skull should be orthogonal and the cervical spine should be orthogonal to bring us into this position. Now they are chiropractic programs, and this was originally started, B.J., in my opinion, nobody studied chiropractic more than B.J. Palmer. He wrote more books than anyone, and at the end of his life, he said the atlas is the most important vertebrae in the spine and the most important vertebrae in chiropractic. And when I was in school, if you touched anything below the atlas, you were sinning. Now, I never did accept that, but I had to graduate. So we say if we say something in our presentation, we are guests of the college, and if we're saying something that's not taught at the college that way, I would suggest you graduate from the college, get successful, have a practice, come back, get on the board of directors, and then try to change something. But my opinion is you should try to graduate first. But these are distortions here in the head and neck. And here these x-rays are taken immediately afterwards, and they are compared to the original. Part of the problem with the orthogonal work is it's not simple. It's not simple to take x-rays. And then not only that, you have to turn around and take some immediately afterwards, and then compare them like blueprints. So the whole program is complicated. We do say that in my opinion, there is more than one way to adjust an atlas. There's more than one way to adjust it. So anyone that gets up and says, you got to adjust it this way or you're crazy, you can say, yeah, maybe. But at the same time, we adjusted the atlas with hand adjusting programs for about 20 years. Then we designed instruments to adjust the atlas with for the last 25. And then we say each doctor should decide how they prefer to adjust the atlas, and then be yourself. So if that's the way you want to do it, then that's the way I would do it, and then learn to do it as best you can. But nobody should get up and say, hey, do it this way or you're crazy. We don't believe that. And let me say